sports.
Welcome to The Playbook, where we're talking sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. I'm your host, Mina SayWhat, and we're 100% digital, 100% live, and 100% real. Let's count them down. Welcome to The Playbook. It's our digital sports show. We do this every Monday around this time here on R&B Philly. We go live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm your host, Mina SayWhat. I want to bring in my guy, Terrell Thomas, senior sports and entertainment editor for These Urban Times. We have not seen each other in quite a bit, but it's nice to see you, sir.
Great to see you as well. Great to see you. Happy to be here. Talk some sports.
Look, I could not wait. You know, we were off last week for Memorial Day. And there was so much going on. I could not wait to get on this show. So I want to hop right into it. NBA Finals. We are in full playoff finals mode. Celtics, Warriors. Now, as of this weekend, this series is now tied. Let's take a look at that bracket. The Warriors beat the Celtics 107-88. Steph Curry had a phenomenal shooting night. He came, listen, after halftime, he came out and he was lighting it up. There was nothing they could do to stop this man. It was like, oh, defense, who cares? Dribble, step back, shoot. Okay, pick and roll. Who cares? Here comes Steph Curry. It was phenomenal to watch. I was really surprised, to be honest, that Boston actually won the first game, because they played the Warriors at home. Now that we have two games under our belt, Terrell, what are you seeing from these two teams?
Well, I've been impressed with both of the teams, as you mentioned. Game one, I was certainly impressed with the Boston Celtics. Right. I did think that they would find an opportunity to possibly steal a game. I didn't think it would be game one. I thought it would possibly be game two. I'm kind of surprised at what we've seen in Jason Tatum so far. He struggled here and there. That's been a surprising feat to me. I've been very impressed with what I've seen from Stephen Curry. You know, like there's been a lot of chit chatter about him in the finals and how he plays. But I've been very impressed with what I've seen him in the last few days. And I think 2 games in, this series has the makings of being a 7-game series, just from how evenly matched I think these two teams are defensively. So far, so good.
I will say the Celtics have come a long way, because this was not the same team in the beginning of the year. Of the NBA year. It's just a completely different team. They've developed so much. Al Horford is playing the ways that he never played when he was with us. So I feel some type of way. I'm like, Al, you couldn't do that when you was with the Sixers? Like, come on, bro. So I am surprised with the Celtics, though. I knew they were a good team, but I don't know if you remember, Terrell, a while back, I said that I would rather the Sixers play the Celtics over the Bucks, only because of the fact that the Celtics are a little bit smaller than the Bucks, and you know the Bucks got more body on them in terms of players. So I thought we would struggle with that, especially with our weakness in that center position, especially with our backup bench. So, but you now, like, re-looking at it, the Celtics are all around such a better team. And they are really giving the Warriors a run for their money. And I'm literally surprised. And this is going to be an amazing series.
I agree.
Yeah. Now let's talk about our Sixers and the center position, because our guy, our center, our main man, Joel Embiid, has undergone surgery. We knew this was happening in that sprained right thumb. What we did not know was there was a problem with the left index finger, which he also had surgery on in this offseason. Now, there's been a lot of chatter about conditioning, right? I remember from last year to this year, I think Joel really came back a different player. He really worked on his game in the offseason. During the summertime, it was clear, and he really elevated. Now, he's sitting in the summertime recovering from this surgery in both of his hands. Are you at all concerned about him returning to the season, being that he's not going to have the same, the same kind of offseason that he had last summer?
No, I'm not really concerned. I do hope that he'll have some time, hopefully towards the end of August, maybe September, right before training camp begins, to start actually, getting back in the gym. I would imagine for some time he won't be able to dribble or possibly touch a ball because, again, He's had surgery on his hands. I think it also just goes to show and say a lot more about Joel Embiid and just the warrior in which he's been throughout the season, the warrior in which he's been throughout his career. Because of course, he's had injuries and knickknacks here and there, but just how severely injured he was this season, I think it'll be good for him to get some rest. Clearly, his body needs it. So I do think it'll be good for maybe him to take a few weeks, a month or two off from basketball. But I do hope that he's able to, again, around the end of August towards September, hopefully get out and start doing small activities when we get close to training camp. Because I just believe personally for him, until he wins an MVP or brings the city a championship, he's going to go out to outrageous measures, to achieve those feats. And he may continue, to have these knick-knack injuries. So I just think by the hunger in him that he's not going to stop getting these type of injuries. So I hope he enjoys and takes some time off.
I have a question. Do you get a sense of time is running out? Because I feel that way. I feel like time is running out, and it's like with every injury, with every playoff letdown, it's almost like it's a prolonged situation where we have these expectations, and then it's always like a hurdle to get through. I feel this sense of urgency where this needs to happen soon. Do you have that same sense?
It's funny. I do. I don't know if I feel like time is running out, but I do feel like a sense of urgency. So if that makes sense, walking on that line, and just when you look at our roster, how it's shaped out, how money is shaped for the next few years. When you look across the NBA, clearly Joel needs another star to help him, but he needs a veteran star, not a young player that the Sixers would get in the draft. So that there aren't many of those available. So I do understand whereas as far as Joel Embiid, I don't feel like in his career the window is closing, but I do feel like the window for our Sixers as a whole, yes, I do feel like the urgency should be there because we're running out of options.
It's funny you mentioned the draft because we have an actual draft pick. I think it's a 28th pick now. When we did the Ben Simmons trade and the James Harden trade, we promised the Nets a first round pick, and we thought they were going to take it this upcoming season, but they actually prolonged it until next season, which was weird to me. Because does that mean what's going on internally where they're not trying to build something now? Right? They're like, let's pause this. You have the Ben Simmons drama there where he's not trying to play and he just got surgery. I thought that was interesting that they gave us that pick.
I think it was a smart move on their behalf because the Nets, I do think, and I know we'll talk about this long down the line. I do believe they'll be a scary team in the future. We have our individual thoughts and opinion about Ben. When he does get on the court eventually, he is a good player, and there are some things he can add to the court. Like if we keep him just there, they'll get Joe Harris back. That roster is already crowded, and they'll have to make some moves already, whereas though they don't really need to bring in somebody else. So it was smart on their behalf. They'll look next season. They may decide to part ways with Kyrie. Who knows what'll happen with Durant? After the 2022-23 season. So they may need that pick as trade bait. So I understand what they're doing there. We'll just have to see how our Sixers are able, to utilize that pick and possibly benefit from it immediately.
That's exactly it. A conversation a lot of people were having about the all first team, the NBA all first team. Joel Embiid not only losing to the Joker for the MVP award, but also not being named all first team this year. And the Joker did. So I want to take a look at Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, actually addressed this. And I want to first get to that. Right. So we see what he has to say. He said, in terms of determinations for all NBA, I think a fair amount of consideration is going into whether we should really, the way it works now, the media should just be picking top players than be picking by position. I think we are a league that has moved increasingly towards positionless basketball, and the current system may result in some inequalities based on the happenstance of what your position is. So basically what he's trying to say is the way that the voting is constructed, they have to pick 5 first team, 5 second team, 5 third team, the top 15 players of the league, right? Within the individual spots, they're doing the typical 2 guards, 2 forwards, 1 center construction. But as the team evolves, you have centers shooting threes, Giannis, people like Giannis, people like Joel, who have challenged theoretically what we think a center should be, what we think a power forward should be, what we think a guard should be. There's a lot of elevation when it comes to how the game is played. It kind of leaves some people left out of what things that they should be winning. So let's look at who was all first team this year. Because if you look at this list, these are all phenomenal players, right? But where would Joel fit here? Because they allow Joel to either be nominated in the forward category and then the center category. Obviously, he can't go in the guard category. So Giannis got 100% of the people who voted. It's 100 media members. 100% voted him first team. So that's already one forward position off the availability. Then we have the Joker at center. He's phenomenal. He won the MVP contest, so why wouldn't he be first team, right? That would look crazy. You win the MVP award and then they give you second team. Like, how are you the most valuable player in the league and you're in the second team? So to me, who needs to go? So let's look at the voting. I couldn't wait to do this. Let's look at the Joker's voting. So you see it's 88% of the people and 12% voted second team, 88% voted first team, 476 points total, right? And the points go, you get more points when you're first team than second team and third team. Now let's look at Joel. So it's closer with Joel. 53 members of the media first team, 43 second team. Total points 414, right? Now here is the person who I think Joel would have replaced. Let's look at Jason Tatum. Now, he's in the NBA Finals. I'm not trying to take away from his greatness, right? But if you look at the voting was close as well. It wasn't such a large discrepancy like how it was with the Joker, right? The Joker was 88 people versus 12 people. This is 49-47. It's very close to Joel's numbers, but Joel had more voting points because he had obviously more first team votes. Mm-hmm. So that's how Joel got left out. What do you think about this? I think they should move into a situation where it's really more so the 5 best players instead of trying to fit and find, the position, the best people in each position.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. And I think that is something that as we move forward, Commissioner Silver and the people who handle those type of affairs will handle and address, not only for purposes of just the ranking of the team, but it also costs guys a lot of money when guys have incentives in their contract where if they're placed on an all team, whether it be the first, second, or third team, they may get increases of up to 30-35 million. We've seen a situation where last year, a gentleman who you just mentioned, Jason Tatum, he missed being named on any of those teams, and he missed out on $30 million. This season, you have a gentleman like Trae Young, plays here in Atlanta with the Hawks. He made the third team, and he'll now be eligible for Super Max, and he'll have $35 million added to his contract. So the money that goes in there as well.
It's funny because I wanted to say Joel was in the second team and he wasn't with like washed up people. I mean, Steph Curry is in the second team. Kevin Durant is in the second team. I almost thought Trae Young was in the second team, but you said he's in the third team. It's just the way the voting stacks up, and it's unfortunate. And I think in general, people just need to reevaluate all the voting when it comes to MVP, when it comes to all NBA, all of that, because these guys are playing for these accolades, right? And if they're not properly being awarded these accolades, it kind of makes the whole voting system flawed, and it makes you not respect it.
Well said. I agree 1,000% right there.
So there's a huge problem in our country with gun violence. If you don't agree, what rock are you under? It kind of gets iffy because people who talk about sports are normally discouraged from talking about political things, but it's something that literally infiltrates our lives all the time, and athletes want to speak up about it. They want to create change. They want to help solve the problem. You have all this power and influence. Why not do something great with it? So the Eagles have actually teamed up with the Philadelphia Police Department to do a gun buyback program, which is actually perfect timing because there was a mass shooting in Philly on South Street, which is like a tourist area. That's like going to the Statue of Liberty and shooting. Like, you would think certain areas would be off limits, right? Because they're a big tourist area and they're big, they attract a lot of people. but some people just don't care. So there's a gun buyback program that the Philadelphia Eagles are holding today from 2 to 6 o'clock at the Lincoln Financial Field. They're collecting guns, no questions asked. They have to be unloaded, and they're buying it for like basically $100. This is what Jalen Hurts had to say about the gun violence.
You know, whether it's a grocery store, a hospital, elementary school, those fear, that's no place of fear. Those are places where fear don't belong in those places. You know, and me sitting here, a big brother, a big cousin, I sit here and think about, I can't even imagine it. I can't even imagine my little cousins not coming home from school, my little sister not coming home from school, my dad not coming home from work. You know what I'm saying? So you see what we're doing here at the Eagles. I'm trying to bring awareness to it, and it's a real thing, you know. And I know there are a lot of people out there in this community and in the world that can relate to that, you know. And I just feel like I just wanted to own my impact with that, because I know it's something that we all feel, and I know ultimately it impacts everybody. Everybody is impacted by it one way or another. I know everyone sitting here may have kids, they may have someone they love, and it all matters. So whether that be just spreading love, appreciating what you have, you know, but ultimately, you know, getting this artillery out the streets, and making true change. And that's something that we urge in all our communities, in the community of Philadelphia.
I think it was well said. And I think if you're playing for the city of Philadelphia, you have to acknowledge the huge gun problem that we have, not even just in Philly, but around the country. We're seeing it. It's like we need leaders, whether it be elected officials or athletes, someone to do something instead of just arguing about, like talking, like I think we're tired of talking about it. And it's like permeating sports. I mean, we saw Steve Kerr kind of go off with the Warriors a week ago. This is impacting people every day. And I think that if you have some kind of power, I think you should utilize it.
Yeah, I think what the Eagles are doing it's humongous, it's huge. I would like to kind of like speak for, not, I don't want to say speak for the streets, but the one thing I wish they were doing, I wish they were giving folks a little bit more than $100. I don't want to like poo on that, but I have seen just some people scared to bring their weapons in, like reading comments and things. It's like, why would I trade in a $500 weapon for $100? Or I can't buy an Eagles ticket, So I know this is a start, but I hope maybe like next year that they do, maybe give away.
They said they can't buy an Eagles ticket with $100. I'm dead.
I was so impressed, as you mentioned, I was so impressed when I saw the Eagles do it. So I was like reposting some of the things as well. I saw you posting some of the stuff, and I was also reading the comments to see how many people may be encouraged to actually, do so. Gun violence has been an issue in, our city of Philadelphia for so long, and it is only getting worse, and it's something that, we should all speak on. But people were just, realistically saying that, like, I would bring my weapon, but not for $100, or again, just for the value purpose of it. Like, you pay so much for a weapon, and whether you got it legally or, especially if they got it illegally, but they pay so much for the weapon. And you mentioned the game ticket. Hey, shoot, give a person a voucher for a game, really encourage them to get out and put those weapons away. That's all. But I
that's
think
a great point.
I think what they're doing is huge, but just maybe next year, get a little more incentive, like give away a ticket or match the value of the gun, and keep it moving.
I think that's a valid point. That's absolutely a valid point. And I didn't even think about it that way. I mean, when I was talking about it on air, I felt a little weird saying $100. They gonna give you $100, But to your point, if you're buying it back, buy it back at value. Because to be honest, a lot of people have conversations about legislation. Legislation's only going to handle large AR-15s and those kinds of things, right? We have problems with small, everyday illegal guns. Legislation is not going to work on what's happening illegally, right? These are the kind of programs that are going to work on what's happening illegally. Oh, maybe someone got a gun and they shouldn't have it. You take it and you bring it to the gun buyback program. Like this is, I think, very important. And to your point, maybe just a little bit more lucrative if you really want to get the guns off the street. They on a budget though, Terrell.
They got to step it up next year. That's what I understand. Year one. That's what I understand.
Real quickly, J. Cole has a new job. Congratulations. He's playing for the Canadian Elite Basketball League. He went from Africa to Canada. J. Cole will travel for a job.
He's on a world tour. He's on a
world basketball tour. He is playing for the Scatterborough Shooting Stars. Of course, Canada's finest. Drake decided to show up and show support. Watch this. And he showed up with the Cole jersey. You can always count on Drake, man.
I love it.
He's like our favorite basketball groupie.
That was dope to see, though. That's dope to see.
I think he really, because the first time I saw anything about it, so I had talked about it as a sports journalist. I had talked about the fact that J. Cole had got this job. I already knew, but they were saying that training camp is happening and then the games, but I had completely forgot about the first game. And Drake actually reminded me, like, oh, he's playing in his first game. So thank you, Drake, for reminding us.
Drake a real one, wore the jersey and all.
And his son, he's gonna make sure his son play basketball. Okay,
I'm not mad at him.
The Phillies. A lot of people not mad at the Phillies right now. They fired their manager Joe Girardi, and hired this guy as an interim, Rob Thompson, who has a very stacked resume. He coached for the Yankees, former player, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are really excited about this move. I knew someone was going to get fired. I didn't think it was going to happen this fast, though. They said, you go get your booty out of here, okay? And the Phillies were, at one point, there was like a seven game losing streak. So people were definitely excited about this. Does this make you excited at all, Terrell?
I'm extremely excited, and it's hard sometimes, keeping the fandom as being like a lifelong Phillies fan and loving baseball and still trying to be, a reporter and do the job the right way. I hated to see Joe Girardi go, quite honestly. I did initially thought when the Phillies brought him in, I thought, wow, he may actually be able to get us back to the postseason and get us to possibly, championship form again. That hasn't worked out, but the Phillies have spent way too much money this offseason and continue to be losing. They just recently crept back up to, the 500 record, and they have big expectations for this team. I think we have big expectations as Philadelphians and Philadelphia fans, and I think themselves just in that clubhouse have had huge expectations. So, I mean, they're undefeated in the month of June. They're undefeated since Girardi's been fired. So maybe that has sparked a new flame for the Phillies, That
was my next point. So they went on a 3-0 winning streak. They swept the Angels in that series. First of all, the Angels are not that good. So it was like the timing of he got fired and now they're on a winning streak and people think it's because of the new interim coach.
But they have two of the best players in baseball. When you think of Ohtani and when you think of, South Jersey / Philly's own Mike Trout, two of the best players in baseball, and we got them out of here.
Yeah, but also Bryce Harper hasn't been playing the best, and he's starting to pick up a little bit, but
picking it up.
Right. So, and then Kyle Schwarber is starting to pick it up a little bit. So maybe it was a morale thing, right? When you work for someone that you dislike, maybe you don't feel like giving it your all. And now maybe there's like a new, fresh energy. And that's what we're seeing here. Because the team didn't get better overall, like overnight. It just, the way it just looks like the team got better as soon as Joe Girardi got fired.
I love it. Whatever y'all doing, keep it going, gentlemen.
Let's look at the plays this week for our Phils. So, as we mentioned, they swept the Angels, so now we get to play the Brewers, the Diamondbacks. I really want to see us kind of play the Marlins, the Mets, some of the teams we've played already to see what the difference is versus the coaching. That will be the true test. Is it the players or is it the coaching? So we'll get to take a look at that later on this season. Let's talk about the NBA Finals. Our next game is on Wednesday. The Celtics get to take it back home to Boston and see if they can pull up in this series 2-1. These games are so late. I hope I can make it to the fourth quarter. The one after game one, I woke up and it was like I thought the Warriors were winning, and then the Celtics won. I'm like, what happened?
This series going 7, so both teams will win one in Boston, and by next weekend it'll be the 2-2 as they head back to Oakland or San Francisco rather.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's the playbook with me, Mina SayWhat. This week, Terrell Thomas, senior sports and entertainment editor for These Urban Times. Follow him. He's like the shade room of sports. He posting every 20 minutes. Okay.
Trying to keep it going. Trying to keep our name.
I'm on social media. Here come El Dorado. Here come These Urban Times. I'm like, do you sleep?
Nah, cat naps.
Right. Thank you, Terrell. Tell them you're at so they can find you.
Thank you, Mina. Always a pleasure to sit and chat with you. You can check me out at These Urban Times, as she mentioned, theseurbantimes.com. Also follow us on social media at These Urban Times, and follow me personally at El Dorado 2452. You can catch me here every other Monday, right here, sitting on the playbook with Mina SayWhat.
All right, let's go. Thank you for watching. Thanks for watching The Playbook. I'm your host, Mina SayWhat, and you got something you want to talk about next week? You can always hit me up on social media at Mina SayWhat, and make sure you join us 1:45 next Monday on R&B Phillies Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. We'll see you then.